Hello, I'm Ronnie Eldridge. Welcome to Eldridge & Company. Matilda Cuomo stepped off Hillside Avenue in Holliswood, Queens, to start a public life that continues right up to this moment. Her common sense, incredible energy, and deep belief in public service have hatched many important programs to improve the well-being of children and families. And I'm so pleased to tell you that she's my guest today. Welcome, Matilda.
Thank you, Ron.
You don't mind if I call you Matilda?
Oh, of course. You always have to call me Matilda.
The most recent, let's talk first about this program, because I know you're anxious for people to know, and it's an amazing program. Mentoring USA.
Yes.
It's mentoring for children, for young people in high school, basically?
Well, we start even earlier. I prefer the middle school. As a teacher that I am, I thought that would be the best place to start. But we do accommodate the principal in the school. If they say we need them in the second grade because they already see symptoms where the child is not doing well, needs someone one-to-one, then we go to it.
Tell us how it started, because that's a fascinating story.
It's interesting. First of all, this state is so incredible, New York State, you know. To say we're prejudiced about it, I mean, it's the Empire State. Why? Because there is a complicated situation in New York State. We have the diversity like nowhere in the world. We have farms and agriculture, which was our first industry. And we have the Adirondacks, and we have a difference. We have even grapes being grown out in Suffolk County with the wine country there that we have.
Beaches that are
people don't
unsurpassed.
The best. Mario says they're the best in the world, Jones Beach. So it's an incredible state. And when the governor has to deal with all these huge duties that he has, well, they do look to their spouse, you know. In my case, that's how I started. So he came to me when he got the statistics of the terrible high statistics of school dropout from high school. This really tells you things when you hear this, because what happens, we have 5 children, and no one had to tell us. If children are not doing well in school and they don't like to study and pass the grades and fail, what do you think they do? They look for everything bad. They get into trouble, a lot of trouble in some cases. So teenage pregnancy we had also drugs, crack came into place. Nobody had heard about it. Very cheap, and they were taking crack. So Mario called me one morning and said, you know, from his office, he said, I know you're busy with the kids, because I had Christopher living with me, of course, and Madeline was on her own, but SUNY Albany, but still she was home. I said, what is it? And he said, we have to do something. You've got to get a bipartisan committee together right away of the best people you can choose in all the fields of development for children. I said, what's going on? He said, well, he said, we're going to have to stem this tide of high school dropout. And I could understand it. I mean, it can't continue, because he was already, you know, he believed in good programs that were positive and could bring a good result, but this was overwhelming. He just fell into this with the recession he had, plus
the recession,
that he got into.
The crack, and the increase in people going into prison. That was the explosion of that population.
Doing criminal acts and all that. So I did just what he said. I said, okay. I said, first of all, I said, do you really think I can do this? And he said, look, you're a mother of 5 children, you're a teacher, you're going to also be the commissioner, the top person on the Council on Children and Families, honorary, because I don't get paid. I'm a volunteer. So I said, okay, I could do that. Well, I did meet a lot of the commissioners, and I tell you the truth, I can't think of another administration that had such superb people like my husband had. Well, I mean, from Tim Russett all the way up, Jerry Crotty and ITT, and it goes on and on. They all did well, God bless them. Fabulous people. And I did just what he said. Now that I knew I was credentialed, I started the bipartisan committee, and I didn't realize why he was so strong on that until the time came when he was no longer governor, that the whole program was abolished, the New York State Mentoring Program, the first in the country developed into, and it was welcomed by everyone in the state, all the principals, You
worked with the Board of Educations and the Department of Education, whatever they were called, in the different counties.
They knew about, they not only knew about it and were well instructed in every way, but from Buffalo to Long Island, all the public schools, private schools, if they wanted it, they could have the program. It was so structured, and it still is, it's the same way, with a discipline, that everybody has a job description, you know? That's the way you have to do it, because you can't leave it to anybody to go off on a tangent.
And the guidelines and how you do it, and the training.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what we did was actually concentrate on New York State, of course. But the thing is to have the first New York State mentoring program in the country, one-to-one, school-based, and statewide was a phenomenon. Why I get upset about the whole thing being cut out is because I think my husband's PR didn't do a good job. I think if the people of this state realized such a good thing, that it was a gift for all these parents who were working, didn't have time for their kids. They want their kids to do well, but what do? I can't afford a tutor. But this mentor is so trained, so well, and I'll go into that.
Well, so we were very lucky because you took it out of the government and you made it an independent entity, which is terrific.
Yes, that's right.
So tell us now, you've got Mentoring USA.
That's what started because of Andrew. Andrew said to me that there's no more New York State mentoring program. I said, well, in a way, I can learn how to golf now. I can tennis. I can, just enjoy myself a little bit, Andrew. And he said, no, Mom, you can't leave that program. It was too good. You got too much good accountability from it. I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, the Help USA, which he had for the homeless, the facilities,
which is housing it's housing, both temporary and permanent housing for women and children.
Housing.
Is it for women and children, women too, single women?
Absolutely.
All kinds
mostly
of homeless.
Women who are single are there, but they need a new lifestyle, training, job training, everything. Their children need the mentors. Of course he was right. What could I say? I said, oh boy. I said, I'm in trouble. So he put me in a basement of the facility at East 14th Street in Manhattan. This is my son. And then I had to take up with my daughter, my daughter Maria, who is the chairperson, appointed by Andrew when he went off to HUD, the head of HUD for President Clinton. So you see how the family works, And so I was the person now to get the mentoring into those facilities, which made a lot of sense. Of course, those women need somebody for their kids. So I'm doing that. I'm in the facility in Brooklyn and the one in Manhattan that I talked about, and we're moving up. We're moving upstate too. The thing is that.
But are you offering it in public schools anymore?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're still in schools, right?
I am the largest mentoring program, one-to-one, for foster care kids in the public schools. I work very closely with all the commissioners that came in and went, and now it's John Mattingly, Commissioner Mattingly, and it's the Administration of Children's Services. They did something very grand. I don't think a lot of people know this. About 2 years ago, they came to me and said, I'm always going to see them periodically too, that the training is so fantastic, what I do with my mentors. Those volunteers who are so good, Ronnie, to come and spend an hour a week. That's all it is, a minimum of an hour a week.
But they could do more if they want.
The good that it does. Yes, absolutely. But the point is, they need that even for their agency people, to realize what they're up against when they come in to play with the foster care kids. A lot of them don't know, and they didn't have a training. So we train them. We also train all the mentors for all of the programs that are going on for the kids in foster care.
That's great.
Which is so important.
And people volunteer to be mentors.
Yes.
You have a website that has a description of the application process and everything.
Yes, it's a very
What's
good
website?
www.mentoringusa.org.
And so that people who are interested in doing this should really look at it, read it.
Yes.
They can even print out the application and send it.
It even brings in the program. We're international in Italy.
Is that right?
Yes, it's they are the largest, the only, and largest in
and you think,
in Italy.
And you really see results. You think that children.
Well, you see how it goes across all kinds of, let's say, even religion, race, all of that, ethnically speaking. Because in Italy, they are now designated by the European Union to go to 5 other countries. So I'm going in September because it's the 10th anniversary that they've had the program. And it's Mentoring USA /Italia. Now they're going to Spain. I've already met La Regina Sofia, so I will be meeting her again. You know, Ronnie, she wanted me to stay 2 more weeks. I went there for the Christopher Columbus quincentenary, and I showed her all my programs that I was working in the States. She was overwhelmed, and she said, "Oh, my commissioners want to learn from you." But I stayed 1 week, but I couldn't stay again more because my mother was turning 90 years old. And I said, "We're having a big surprise party for her." She sent the most beautiful picture with a dedication to Maria, my mother. And I have it. I'm going to bring it with me to thank her for it. Because I heard from the ambassador's wife, Danielle Gardner, that she never sends pictures to anybody. So I was thrilled.
So what was it like to be, did you realize when you married, you met Mario in a cafeteria, right, of college? Is that right? I've heard that story.
Ronnie, yeah, Jimmy knows all this.
And so you've been, we have to say that our husbands are very close friends, and you're a close friend of the families.
Way back.
So you and Mario have been together for a long time.
54 years, June 5th.
Did you realize that did you know that he was going to land up running for public office?
No way at all. He was, to say, anti-politics, but I just really thought, like his mother and father, he'd become a fine judge, because he knew the law.
Right.
Well, he worked at the Court of Appeals.
Right. And the law is his great love. Yeah.
I was teaching, making more money than he did in the Court of Appeals.
That's right. So I was working in the Lindsay administration when he was representing the homeowners in Corona, right?
Yes, that's right.
So what did you think when that started?
Well, I knew his enthusiasm because they were in my living room, and he got a lot of sauce and macaroni, lasagna, and all that. But they didn't pay him.
You mean Italian spaghetti sauce in those days,
Italian
right?
style.
Not pasta, but spaghetti.
Yeah. So, and he did what often is heard of: you can't fight City Hall. You know, he went all the way up to the Court of Appeals.
Yeah, and he
fought for them and saved their homes. Yeah. 69 homes.
He made quite an impression on the Lindsay administration. So later they called on him when they had the problem in Forest Hills building the public housing.
That's right.
So then he became Secretary of State. By that time, were you familiar thinking that he was going to...
Kerry. Well, I really was not in favor right through this period because I thought he had such talent. He now finally working his way up the firm, which took a lot of stamina, energy, and time away from the kids. You know, he had to work his way up. That's the way it was. And young kids have to learn, you know. These young people get married that if you want to do well, not only survive, do well, you have to put in the time. And it's very hard for a lot of married couples, too, today. I hear that. So the fact is that I thought he became partner. Ronnie, now we could get a bigger house, you know. We have 5 children now. And I just knew it was coming. I could see how excited he was and how much involved he was with everything and the people. So, as I said, they were feeding him on the bus going up to Albany.
So then he became lieutenant governor. And did he become lieutenant? I don't know. He ran for mayor. That was
that was a stint. Yeah, that was just...
So what was it like when he was elected governor?
Well, let me tell you a true story. This wonderful, may she rest in peace, she just died pretty recent. Tita Montes called me up. Now, I don't even know the lady at the time. A good Republican from Nassau County.
They owned Gurney's, right?
No, she owned
Montes Restaurant.
Hillcrest.
Oh. Okay.
Out there. Beautiful restaurant. Well, it's like a nightclub, actually. So she calls me and said, "Don't feel bad. You feel very bad that he lost for mayor." Yeah. I said, "Oh, I don't only feel bad for him, really. I feel bad for the people because there were so many volunteers, so many people. When is it? Glen Oaks out in the Douglaston area, where he helped save these homes also for all these teachers. So they came out in droves to volunteer for him. I feel sorry for them that he lost because it was such a short thing that happened, the campaign. And I said to myself, my goodness, I don't know where this is going, but I really didn't think it was the right time, you see. So actually he really felt bad, very bad himself. But she says to me, "Don't feel bad." She said, "He's going to be governor." I said, "Oh boy, I wonder who this lady is." A clairvoyant.
So, and that was a tough campaign because he ran against Ed Koch.
Yes.
And he was considered the underdog, right?
Absolutely. Was he the underdog? Oh, very much so. But you know, Andrew was now, let's see, he could have been not in college. He was just starting college, I believe. He was very young, just early, yes. He was a freshman, actually, in college. And he actually ran that whole campaign for his father, upstate New York, where he sent me for 10 days. I can't forgive him.
So what was it like to go out and campaign?
Well, you know, it's wonderful to think sometimes, what kind of talents do you need to do all this?
Right.
I do believe one basic preposition. When you campaign for somebody, you better like that person, believe in that person all the way, because it shows. Sooner or later, you get a little tired, it shows. So you really have to believe in everything that that person stands for and what they're going to do for the people.
You've campaigned,
you've
campaigned for people other than your husband, haven't you?
No.
No. Oh, that's interesting.
No.
So are you nervous before you speak?
Well, at the beginning, because I didn't know the people, and I was sleeping in homes of people who were not only Republican upstate New York, but I didn't know them. And they were so generous, so sweet and kind. I made friends with all these women, 10 women. And I said, if my husband wins as governor, you're going to come and sleep in the executive mansion. We'll have a slumber party. And they came.
Oh, that's great. That's terrific. Yeah. So when you have to make a speech or something, I always like to demystify the world. And I think that people who are watching you and they love you because you're, you know, they can relate to you. I want them to know that, yes, you get a little worried when you get up. I mean, I know I do.
Absolutely.
And
in fact, Mary always told me it's good when you're nervous.
I was going to say, that's where it gets your...
adrenaline gets going and your spirit, and you feel like you're going to do this.
Yeah.
I think the preparation is very important, Ronnie, to really know what you're talking about. And being a teacher has helped me so much, because that's what I did when you ran for governor. I actually showed in the executive capacity, judicial capacity, and social how he was prepared as lieutenant governor. Even, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you can't say he didn't have government experience. My gosh, he did. He, even as Secretary of State, he consolidated all those agencies for Governor Kerry. So I'm not taking the job unless I do something good and fruitful and good for the people.
Do you, what was the most exciting thing you've had happen in this life, political life?
I think what jolted me is that he lost in the last election, because he only lost by 4%.
Yeah.
And people, if I told you, Ronnie, you know this well, and Jimmy, how many people said, will you please say you're for the death penalty and forget about it? His own mom, you know, Mom Cuomo said to him, say you're for it. Then when you win, you have phenomenal.
Right, that's a major sticking point with him, right?
Yeah, that's what did it,
principle and everything.
The 4% was mostly upstate, where they just can't get over. They just want the death penalty.
And it's so incredible. It still happens, I guess, although I think there's some softening, don't you think?
Well, it's what it is that really is annoying and terribly cruel, I think, is when a politician tells you to vote for him because you'll have the death penalty, which in this state was a joke altogether. It never happened.
Right.
And it was known, really.
Right, there were no executions. Yeah. So you were in the White House? I mean, when your son then is a member of the president's cabinet, does it just happen gradually so you don't really get impressed?
Oh, I'm always impressed.
Yeah.
In fact, just this morning, I have to tell you that if I can do something for my birthday, in September, I'd like to bring all my little grandchildren who are old enough to understand and behave themselves to all of the tour around the White House, which I think I can get done because of who I was and whatever. Because I think that will be a lasting impression and memory I can give them.
How many grandchildren do you have?
13. 12 girls and one little boy, little Mario.
That's so interesting. You have 3 daughters.
Yes.
And 2 sons.
Boys.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you've also written books.
This book was done not because of my idea, actually. It was my daughter, Madeline. She said to me at one point when I started in 1995 with the Mentoring USA, calling it that in fact, Andrew gave me the name. He said, just call it Mentoring USA. And now I'm international and I'm national.
Right.
I'm in California with LA's Best, doing all their after-school programs for mentoring. Houston, Texas, and I'm in Dr. Mayor Booker, who was...
Oh, that's the yes, in Newark.
In Newark. Wonderful man, wonderful man.
And they really
he knows
need it.
what he needs and what he wants, and he went right to it. His own staff are mentors to begin with. So that's wonderful. I could do more, but I have to still concentrate in New York City because we have a lot of work to do here.
So the
book came from Madeline's idea. You said, what do you gain? What are the wonderful things being First Lady? Well, I will write a book too. I mean, my daughter Maria especially and Margaret want me to write the book and about my memoirs. And I was so fortunate to meet so many great people, wonderful people. And I went to them in this book. They're here, right here, a lot of them too, a good percentage of them. And I said, would you help me out and tell me, who was your mentor before you were successful, before you were such a celebrity? And if you look at their pictures, the faces, you know right away who they are.
Yeah.
From Harry Belafonte, Joe Torre,
Ozzie Davis, Elizabeth
Marion
Dole.
Wright Edelman, Julia Child, who I'll never forget, and Tim Russett, all of them.
This is a short statement,
very short,
basically.
because people don't like to read them, but it was really a concentration, a little bio on who they are, where they went to school and so forth, where they were. For instance, Strahan,
the football player.
Yeah, he actually lived in Germany. His father was a major in the army. So who knew that?
That's so
it's interesting to see where they lived. And also then, who was their mentor? I mean, you know that in my second edition, I got Colin Powell, I got McCain, Senator McCain, and Tim Russett and Diane Sawyer. Only 4 because they were in a rush and I couldn't get more. But it's very interesting about Senator McCain. First of all, Hillary did so much for me. She did the forward, and she's always been there for me. And she believes in the mentoring for children a great deal. The fact is that Senator McCain had made it clear that his mother was an Army wife. So that means she had to travel with her husband. And what happens is he was at boarding schools. And this one boarding school, he actually had this Professor Ravenel, R-A-V-E-N-E-L. And he thought the world of him. It was his mentor, to say, like a father, and taught him the code of honor. And which explains, and he does that in the book, why he had to stay with his comrades, how he delved into the right thing to do and the wrong thing to do, and thinking of Raven, what would he want me to do? It's amazing how he impacted his life. And he had to stay with his comrades.
Who impacted your life?
Mine?
Yeah.
I'm in here too.
Yeah.
In the introduction, I have 2 great teachers in public school in Brooklyn. I raised the kids in Queens, but I'm from Brooklyn. And I tell you, if it wasn't for both of them, I don't know what would have happened to me. The 4th grade, Mrs. Collier, and the 6th grade was Miss Conway. Miss Collier calls me up one day and says, you know the answers of every question I'm asking, and you don't raise your hand. Why do you do that?
Very good.
And I was so surprised. And I said to her, I don't know if it's the right. She says, you know it's the right answer. I was very timid.
And even if it's not the right answer, take a chance, right?
But I just didn't. So she said to me, listen, you keep on doing what you're doing. You're getting wonderful grades. You are going to go to college. I said, college? I didn't even know what that was till I ran home and told my brothers, my older brothers, and my dad was all for it. He put us all through college.
Were you the only girl in the family?
No, I have a younger sister. 14 years apart from me.
Right.
And so it's 2 girls and 3 boys, also 5. And my dad put us all through. I say that because he had no Pell, no nothing to help us.
No grant.
And he worked with my mother to put us all through tuitions and all.
Isn't it amazing how you remember teachers? I remember my junior high school teacher, Mr. Eben, Herbert Eben.
See?
He was the civics teacher, and he dragged us around into town hall radio programs to meet Mrs. Roosevelt, and really gave us a sense of civic duty.
And inspired you.
Yeah.
Well, much about that is Hillary, too. She had a minister, but worked with children out of the church. And he took them to see Martin Luther King Jr. speak. that's what changed her whole concept of the social life of people who are, it's not the same. And she got a whole different perspective for the rest of her life. So,
was there somebody who really surprised you in this book? A lot of people, I guess.
A lot. Walter Cronkite still talks about the English professor who drew him out to do more journalism. Tim Russett had a good nun in those days. he was always the one who was making trouble with the boys, talking too much in the class. So she said, "You like to talk a lot. Can you write?" She said, "Write down what you're thinking."
Oh, that's
she said,
very
"You're
smart.
going to be in charge of the newspaper for the school."
Very smart. Isn't that incredible?
Is that incredible?
Yeah.
Do you know he goes back to his high school that continued with another professor who was listening to the nun and knew how to treat him? And do you know that he gives them a bountiful of scholarships and so forth?
That's so great. Good
he
for him.
hasn't forgotten them.
Good.
Yeah.
So this book is available in the bookstores?
Yes. It's well, actually, they can go to the website and get it.
Yeah.
It's easier
I
that
see.
way.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
And we're almost finished with this interview. So you do want volunteers. You can always find. You always need a mentor,
We
right?
must have volunteers.
And they can be of
the
any
soul
age.
of the program.
Any age?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that.
I mean, above.
This is what we do in schools where we really can't get mentors to come to Brooklyn. So we get the creme de la creme in the high schools because it's good for their resume. It's a win-win.
Oh, the kids.
And
yeah.
the kids come down and mentor the younger kids in the middle
great.
school. Isn't that wonderful?
Right.
So they have something to show for
Right.
community service also.
Right.
So we do that.
Well, you're a remarkable woman, and I'm very pleased that you've been my guest.
Thank
And
you.
we are all lucky that you were the First Lady.
Thank you for having me.
And please remember the viewers to go to your website,
Yes.
right? Okay. And it's mentoringusa.org.
Yes.
And participate.
They'll learn a lot. It'd be
Okay.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you so
Matilda.
much.
If there are any people you'd like to hear and topics you'd like us to explore, please let me know. You can write to me at CUNY TV, 365 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York, 10016, or you can go to the website at cuny.tv and click on Contact Us. I look forward to hearing from you.